Aloha, everyone, and welcome to the Alien Contact Organization on Aquarian Radio. And I'm your host, Janet Kara Lessin, and my co-host is Barbara G. Lindsey. And today we have our special guest, Gary McKinstry. Throughout New England and beyond, Gary is legendary, giving peace, comfort, and perhaps closure. He talks to people about their everyday lives as well as those that have crossed over to the other side. Understanding that we are never really alone and how we're all connected through spirit and love, Gary McKinstry is internationally known. He's a medium, psychic minister, doctor of philosophy and religion, a 32-degree Scottish Rite Mason, teacher, hypnotherapist, paranormal specialist, mentor, and life coach. He's a radio and television personality. He's been on many, many shows. He's dedicated to helping people in all walks of life and death. And he has a real-life approach to mediumship. So let me first bring on my co-host. I see that she has arrived. Hi, Barbara G. I'm taking off mute. It takes a second or two. Goes in little circles. There you go. Aloha.
Aloha, my dear friend. What an honor to be here with you today.
Yeah, this is exciting. We have Gary McKinstry. I've been wanting you two to meet. You have a lot in common.
I'm stoked. Psychic to psychic, you know?
Yes.
Love to love. Big heart. High vibration.
Yes. Well, we could use a lot of that right now. So, I'm going to just bring on Gary, and we will start. We'll have Gary start by telling us more about himself, so you get to learn who he is, Barbara Jean, and the listeners are going to journey with us on this little, we're going to talk about life and death. So, welcome, Gary. Thank you back to the show.
Hello. Aloha.
Yeah.
I'm actually calling in from the Northeast, so aloha for us is a little different. It's kind of nice to hear.
Well, that's good. I came here in 1993, and I started saying aloha, and I can't stop. And I go everywhere, and people look at me like I'm weird. You're not Hawaiian, but, it's part of the culture.
Oh, no,
So,
please don't stop. It's lovely.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Well, I know that Barbara Jean has not met you before, but go ahead. Say what you want to say. Go ahead.
Oh, just to let people know, yes, I'm sitting up here in merry old New England. Right now we have giant thunderclouds above, which, it's very atmospheric. It looks like the kind of night you want to talk to a medium with lightning and thunder, and so it fits. It's all part of the whole process here. But yeah, just to let people know, thank you for the lovely introduction. And I do take an everyday approach to what I do. That's why my clientele is very diverse. They can be, I get all walks of life. So it's always interesting who shows up, who I'm reading for. I do a lot for people who want to know, I don't know if you have anybody in your audience who's been to a gallery reading. It's kind of like the greatest hits. Sometimes we've had up to 500 people in a room, and you go out in the audience and connect to as many people. I also do the one-on-one part, so I actually sit with people. So I have a varied regime where it's never the same, day after day. Everything is always different. And yes, much like you, I also handle everyday life problems. So it's a varied occupation. And at this point in my life, I don't see any gearing down, which is also good. A lot of people say, like, I'm going to slow down. If anything, I want to speed up. So
that's the same with me too. What's that retirement stuff?
Yeah, people go like, what am I going to do? I like gardening. That's lovely, but I'm not going to spend my entire life in a garden. So I enjoy people too much to just say, okay, we're going to hang it up. I'm having too much fun.
That's wonderful. And I've been to gallery readings, and I often wondered how the medium knows who to choose. I guess they see their relatives around them. That's what I take. Is that how it works for you? And I know, Barbara G., have you done gallery readings too?
Yeah, I have. I really enjoy them. You never know what you're going to get. It's just so much fun. It keeps you alive and on your toes.
Sure does. I don't know about Barbara, but when you ask the question of how do I pick who I'm going to read for, I don't pick. I don't pick who I'm going to read for. They pick me. There's a natural draw energetically, so you're drawn to. I'll use the term. I'm sure you're familiar with the lovely Long Island medium and John Edwards and everybody. I'm a little different, where they stay on stage and point to a section of the audience and go, it's somewhere over there, which is lovely, and I get it. I'm a little more specific. We have all the handheld equipment and all that kind of stuff, so I interact. I'm out in the audience, which is kind of funny. We were doing an evening there's a lovely place out here called the Public House, which has been here since Washington's days, and we had a large group of people in, and I had someone that was complaining to the management because they reserved a front row table, which I thought was really funny, because in my business there is no front row. You can be in the back, you can be on the side, but they had to have a front row table, and wouldn't you know, as luck had it, I had to start in the back of the audience that night. So I thought that was a little bit karmic. Yeah, Barbara, I don't know, like I said, when I say that part about the energy drawing you to them, I'm not sure if that's the same for you or how it works.
It's exactly the same. I'm sitting here going,
Yeah, because
it's exactly what you said.
And it's funny because you cannot script the evening.
Oh, no way. No way.
You know,
exactly.
It would be, gee, I feel like we have a psychics union meeting going on tonight.
It's not very often I get to talk with another psychic, you know, in a way, who spent their life doing this, you know, so dedicated to it. So it's really an honor to be here with you today.
Thank you so much. By the way, you did, and it's for the last 25 years I really have dedicated. This is my sole job, my sole mission. You know, I don't have the day job, so to speak. I don't have a backup, you know, plan. If we're not, you know, if I'm not doing my job, if I'm not helping people, basically, I don't know exactly what I'm doing at this point, but this is it. I've pretty much, when you said devoted your life, by the way, don't get me wrong, I have other interests in life too. You know, I'm husband, father, recently grandfather. You know, so we're pretty well rounded here. But the deal of it is, this is primarily who and what I am, which is kind of fun, you know. Now, I don't want to steal the show either. So anytime you want to.
No, we want you to.
It's all about you here tonight, okay? I'm just Dan's sidekick today, so it's all about you.
Well, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to.
Right, our focus is on you.
Now, for those in the audience that wonder, do I see, like, on television, like I said, you always see, you remember the Ghost Whisperer, the TV show? She always saw hunky young dead guys, and they usually look like they just took a shower standing behind her.
Yeah.
You know, that the half-naked guy, and he does the hair toss, and like I said, he's got like the six-pack abs and stuff. And they always seem to be like, she's in a negligee on the couch, and they walk in behind her and go, help me. For those in the audience, it's not quite like that. Unfortunately, I could see Grandpa in his recliner asking me where his false teeth are. I don't always get the hunky guy or the girl in the, the really racy outfit. That's very infrequent. But for me, and I'm not sure about Barbara or anybody else, but for me it's very much sometimes like a daydream. While I'm doing this, it's not that I detach totally from here, because I can't, because I'm actually relaying the messages to someone. But during that time period, it's like I'm watching a vignette or almost a movie of someone, only it's not really a movie because there's an interaction between me and them. So that's kind of the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're in between the worlds in some ways. It's in a different, definitely in a different vibration or a different state of beingness compared to the people that you're reading, because your job, right, is to be neutral and open and let it come through, whatever it comes through for the people for their best interest.
And thank you for that, because I want to also explain to people that I do not edit. Whether someone likes the message or not,
that's what it is.
Yeah, because sometimes I actually had a lady that came to see me, and she had brought her niece, and she said, my niece needs to hear from her father, and she needs to hear that Dad is sorry.
Oh, gosh.
And I got into the reading, and sure enough, Dad came through, and got news for you, Dad wasn't sorry. And the reading ended, and the girl was quite pleased, and the aunt looked at me and she said, you didn't tell her Dad was sorry. And I said, I never told you I would.
It's in her best interest.
Yeah, if he came through going like, I need to get this straight, and we need to make it, he had a lot to say. By the way, I didn't ask what he was supposedly sorry for either. That's not, it's going to sound weird, but it's not my business.
Right.
That's between this side and that side. The other thing there's a couple of things I had to learn, I'll use the term in the business. One was I am male. Males we're meant to stop when people cry. Well, when I first began, someone would start crying, and I would stop for a little while, and then afterwards, I learned, as one of my clients and my wife told me, sometimes people need to release, and that sometimes it's a good thing, but being, like I said, being of the masculine gender, we're kind of taught as a kid, if you say something and someone starts crying, well, you should stop. So I had to learn the difference between A is happy crying, B is comfort crying. So there's different types. That's the very first thing I had to, And by the way, these days we do buy tissues at the wholesale supplier.
Yes. You need to take
we go to
this with
BJ's
you
and get the giant box, like 24 boxes of tissues. There's tissues all over the place here. By the way, and my intent is not to make people cry, even though sometimes they need to really. Sometimes they laugh too. I've had people come through that were actually really funny. It's kind of like, if you were funny here, you're funny there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people think it's morbid. Anything but. The other part is, and again, I'm going to ask Barbara. Janet, I feel terrible. I'm leaving you out of the conversation.
No, I have a question, but I want you to ask Barbara, and then I have a question for both of you.
Jump in.
Oh, I'm going to make a note of it so I don't forget. Well, you can do your questions first. Okay, I'll ask my question. So I don't claim to be a psychic or a medium, but I've had the dead come to me, but only after they're newly dead. And then I'll say to them, why are you coming to me? And they'll say, because we can see that you can see us.
Correct.
And they'll come to me in my dream state for the most part. but I've had a few that were during the waking state. So, what is that called? This seems like a different thing. And at one time, my husband was there when this person came in, and he gave me the induction. Allowed him to speak through you without taking, that was twice. Allowed him to speak through you without taking you over. So it was like my consciousness went up on a little side stool and watching down, and then they came in, and I didn't know what I was going to say. Are those called different things? But don't ask me to do that. I can't recreate it. You guys can recreate it any time. This is just what happened to me. So I have those two questions. What's going on there?
You're basically at that moment, you're channeling. You're channeling a higher dimensional form, or a higher vibrational form, I should say.
Okay.
What happens is... yes.
You go ahead.
When we pass, the physical no longer is of use. Let's face it, the body is a machine. It can only last so long. The consciousness, the spirit, the chi, the soul, whatever religious vernacular you want to put it in, or whatever context you want to put it in, is a higher vibrational state, and it's an energetic state at this point. It no longer needs to be contained in this form. So it literally, if you want to say, jumps vibrational patterns or paths, and it's almost like a scale. Like let's say you were playing music, it goes up an octave. And the deal is, we're at a lower octave than they are, so you have to change and raise your vibrational state to match that of the person that's there or the entity you're looking for. How am I doing, Barbara?
Sounds perfect. It's like you're on the same. It's on the same wave as them, exactly.
Yeah. It's
a different state of communication, because it's spirit to spirit, and like you're saying, without the body is so dense that it automatically comes down lower. But as a spirit, you're free.
The interesting thing is, in order to obtain the state, the operator or channeler has to lower their vibrational rate to get higher. I'll explain that. I'm going to give you the secrets, okay? Believe me, I've been working on this a long time to figure out what happened.
I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing or what's happening, because I seem to have absolutely no control over it. Except I can say no. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's a physiological state. Okay? I'll use the term, it's almost like the higher your mind will advance, the more open you're going to be to do this. This does not mean you have to have like a 160 IQ. It doesn't mean, you're Einstein's sister. But what it means is your mind has to attune or attain a certain level. And in order to do that, you kind of had a key when you mentioned a lot of times in the dream state.
Yes.
In the dream state, you're not in control of your respiration. You're not in control of your heart rate. Your heart rate can slow. Your respiration can slow. The body changes state. As you're going from an alpha to a beta and back to an alpha, and you're swapping back and forth, what's happening is you're theoretically in a trance state. You're not awake, but the mind is free to go from one vibrational pattern to the next. It's almost like you're climbing the ladder and then coming back down and climbing back up. Now, while you're awake, what's happening is your mind and your body, for some reason at that point, are actually in sync. And for that moment when whomever is coming in, they're taking advantage of that point while your body and mind are in sync. When I'm really out there, my respiration changes, my heart rate changes, my core temperature sometimes will drop about 2 degrees. I've done evenings where, it's like August, and I bring like a sport jacket with me because I'll be cold. I got the audience in shorts and T-shirts, and I'm in a sport jacket because my body temperature is dropped some because my heart rate has changed. Instead of my heart rate increasing, it's actually decreasing. It's a little bit like a state of nirvana. You know, for that time period, everything's, I'll use the term, stops around me. When I read, I am devoid of cell phones. I am devoid of computers. I even have a building here that for private sessions. The only thing I have in there are lights and heat for the winter. No phone, no cable connection, because at that point, what's happening is I'm connecting with that higher vibration. I really don't need the outside stimulus. So that's interestingly enough, Virginia and I work in a lot of different environments. I can be, like I said, I was just not too long ago, I was out at the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's out in Springfield. And that's a big, large, open hall. And it was an evening, and they had the place pretty much packed, and I was out in the middle of the crowd doing my thing. And I didn't notice anybody there except for the person I'm reading for. It's almost like everybody drops away, and I've got that connection between them and me. And the rest of the world at that moment doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, if the place was on fire, I'd notice it, okay?
Right.
Well, you know what I mean. But otherwise...
I know, yeah.
Yeah, that person, I'm locked into their energetic pattern, and they're locked onto their loved one. And that's another key to this, you know. I'm not the one who the person on the other side is interested in. I always think of it as I'm a receiver, okay? It's just like your radio. You dial it in, you tune it in. I'm on that frequency or wavelength, but the person I'm actually reading for, the living person, is the antenna. They're bringing that person into me. My job is just tune it in, become the speaker, but their job is, you know, and my wife is very good sometimes when people want a private session. She'll prime them before they get here. And what do I mean by that? She'll tell them, do yourself a favor. Take out some of the pictures of people that you really want to connect with. Think of these people, you know, like a day before or the morning of. And this way, when you get there, it's very fresh in your mind, so the energetic pattern can come through. How's that? Pretty good?
That's good. That's good. We actually do that when we do psychotherapy with people. We ask people to bring pictures of their loved ones, but, you know, and even their own childhood pictures, because they're going to reconnect with the
There's a very finite parallel between what you do and what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing is, I think I'm actually psychoanalyzing the dead person, too.
Well, that's. Let me just bring this up, and then I'm gonna step back and just listen. But I had a couple points. So one time, my neighbor died in a stream. He was driving over a river, and he was playing superhero. And he said, "I'll take you to the other side of the river," but he actually killed himself and two other people, and the other two people got out with their, you know, barely with their lives. And so he was haunting us for a while. So I've always been astrally traveling. So one night I get out of my body, and there, his name is Jim, and he's sitting on the foot of my bed. He's actually sitting on Sasha's feet, but Sasha's sleeping. He doesn't feel anybody sitting on his feet. and I start to leave the room, and I do a double, because I go in the bathroom, I do a double take, and I go back. I'm very brave in my asking for him, and I go back, and I'm sitting with him.
Right.
And Jim was like Beetlejuice. I'm looking at him, and it's like his nose is dissolving. You know, he's like rotting. And I said, Jim, what's going on? He says, yeah, it hurts, just like it looked, it hurt. So I started doing psychotherapy with him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't every night, but off and on for like 2 years, and I had no control of this. Just whenever I found myself out of body, there's Jim, and I'm helping him process. He feels guilty that he killed the 2 other people, and he left behind his wife and his 2 sons, who really needed them. They were teenage boys, and that's when they needed their son the most. So anyway, like I said, I can't recreate that, but that's what I did. So I wasn't really channeling them, but I was doing psychotherapy for the dead.
I think what's interesting.
Yes.
Yesterday I had a young man here, and excuse me, he's a rapper, and you know, he was in his rapper garb, and he had the finger tattoos and the whole 9 yards. And his dad came through, and his dad was a musician, but his dad, of course, was a different genre. And Dad came through because he had an unfinished piece of music, and he wants his son to finish it. What had happened is it was an interesting chord between the 2 of them. I think he could appreciate his son as following, you know, like his passion, but there was a piece of his passion that was never finished. And between the 2 of them, you want to talk about, you know, a tearjerker. Yeah, I get this kid that looks like gangster number 1, and you know, like, and he's listening, and Dad's telling him, like, hey, look, I'm proud of you. You know, look what you're doing is good. But I feel unfinished because there was this piece of music, and there was a specific reason for it. And can you finish it for me? Now, whether or not he will, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping he does. But sometimes, yeah, we have to finish the piece, sometimes for the person on the other side. You know, it was rather touching because, you know, here's this guy going like, there's this piece and I just never got to finish. The gentleman had passed suddenly. And, yeah, and literally he was 3/4 of the way done with this song. Now, whether this song is ever going to be known by the public or not, I don't think he cared. I think he just wanted to see it finished. So,
great.
Unlike Jim, who basically was feeling, you know, had guilt and remorse about the people that he feels he harmed, this gentleman had a different kind of unfinished piece. But to him, it was still just as important. You know, sometimes that's the job, getting that piece or message across. And then I don't know how many times I had a really funny experience. On occasion, most of the time when I'm not working or my mind's not in that state, I hate to use the term, I can kind of block it out. But you don't want to walk around all day doing this. You know, otherwise you'll never cut the lawn, and you'll never get anything done. But we were out on the road one time, and we had to stop and grab something to eat, and we stopped at a fast food place. And I'm sitting there, and I looked across the room, and there was a lady there, and she's a living lady, not a dead one. But she was kind of like this really grumpy, mean little old woman, and she was there with what looked like her best friend, and she was complaining about the food, and she was complaining about the weather. This woman, she just kept going on and on and on. And I looked up, and I started laughing, and Virginia looked at me, and she said, "What are you seeing?" There was a little man sitting next to her. He was bald, and his little ears were sticking out, and he looked at me, and he said, "I'm dead." And he had this biggest smile on. And I said, "You belong to her, don't you?" And he said, "Yeah." Virginia said to me, "Are you going to tell her that her husband's here?" I said, "No, he looks too happy."
I'm dead.
I thought it was cute that he was sitting there with her, though. It's almost like, okay, I'm gone, and I'm kind of happy. I got some peace, but yet he's still with her, which I thought was cute. You know.
Oh, he must have loved her.
He did, and missed her because, like I said, he's there. He just kind of like enjoyed that moment, watching her like rip apart somebody else. But some of the things are funny. It's amusing, And I wasn't trying. That just happened to be one of those, like, and I think he just needed somebody to talk to for that 1 minute, you know. But, you know, if it made him happy, life is good. You know, we all move forward. And now,
even death is good.
Yeah. Well, there's one other part, and I'm not sure if I've for the longest time, I've tried to figure out what this is. And what do I mean by what this is? But what our physical state is. You know, like, and I don't want to say why are we here in that respect. You know, I'm not talking.
I say that all the time.
Well, I kind of figure this is the testing ground for the next vibrational pattern. And I'm not going to give you, like, the Buddhist description, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I gather, from what I see, because quite often I do see background. I don't just see, like, the dead person. You know, I'll see where they are, you know, and they seem to be in pretty normal places. They seem to go to where they were comfortable in life. You know, I've seen, I think, 100 living rooms where the guy's sitting in a recliner. I've seen, I don't know how many ladies in the kitchen doing something because they enjoyed putting around.
Mm-hmm.
People at the beach. You know, so evidently the etherical heaven idea, like golden temples and everyone wearing togas, doesn't seem to wash. So the only thing I can figure, before we can get there, we have to experience the physical concept and the intellectual concept. Things such as pain, love, anger, all the human emotions. So we have a basis for the consciousness to be able to move forward. You know, because for the longest time, I wondered, like, not so much why would we be there, but why would we be here? You know, why would we need to experience certain things? The only thing I can think of is, and I'll use the term in a religious term, before you can get to a state of grace, I guess you have to walk on the planet, so to speak.
Right.
And in case you're wondering, do I ever see unhappy spirits, just like your friend Jim on occasion?
Yeah.
Not everybody on that side goes like, this is great. And
yeah, I've seen both. I'd say about 50-50. I had David Bowie come to me, and then Prince. It was really weird. I was what, did I put a sign up, open for business? And because it's back to back, right? And David Bowie was so depressed, and Prince was ecstatic. He was dancing. He's and then he brought everybody with him. He said, I'm going to treat you. Because I talked to him, right? I said, okay. And I had my husband. I brought him in. I said, wait. I've got something here. I want you to witness it. So I came in whenever this was happening, it's like I could see it in my mind's eye. I guess that's what you do. You see it in your mind's eye.
Right.
So, and he says to me, well, I'm so grateful that you talked to me because I've been going crazy trying to get somebody to pay attention. And there you were, and you took the time to answer me. And he said, he says, I think he can read my mind. And he says, I'm going to bring you some people that you like. So he brought Gene Roddenberry and Spock and John Lennon and, all these people that I love. And he kept filling up the room. And I was telling my husband, as it was going, oh my God, he's bringing everybody. And it was so cool to see everybody because they were all healthy and happy. And it didn't last long. It was maybe 15, 20 minutes, and then it was over. Because I kind of said, okay, enough. Thank you for showing me everybody. I've got to go do my day. But I'm just so grateful that happened. And I think you're right. You're in a different vibratory frequency. That's what I felt like. I was in like a higher vibe or something. But go ahead.
I'm glad the way you put that, he brought them in, because a lot of times what happens is you have, if you want to call it spirit, you'll have the strongest spirit, and they seem to be, I don't want to say pack leader, but it's almost like they're the MC or the host, okay? you'll get the one. Sometimes in my case, the one I'm looking for. But then he's going to bring in Cousin Harold, and he's going to bring in this one and that one, and before you know it, you've got a room full of dead people.
That's what I had. I didn't think I could fit anymore.
I'll get somebody that comes for a reading and they want to talk to Grandma, and the next thing you know, I've got like this. It feels like the family reunion, which is great.
Wow.
The other thing,
has that happened to you, Barbara?
Barbara,
have you had?
Yeah, I do, and it's. I'm thinking the one time I had the person really wanted to talk to her husband. I think, and I said, like, I can never guarantee who's coming through, right?
Correct.
You just can't. And so I said, I can't order it like a cafe. You can't do that, but we'll give it a shot and see what comes, because I'm not sure. And so one person comes, and I can see him just as clear as can be. He's in a golf cart. He's got a Hawaiian shirt on. He's just so happy, and he calls her this name, and she says, stop. And I go, what? And she goes, it's the wrong husband. Her first husband came, and not the one that had just left, But like you were saying earlier, he came because she needed closure with him. The husband that had recently passed, he was the love of her life. They really didn't have any issues. She just missed him, and so it was pretty funny. So yeah, you just never know what's coming, but you can know that it's the best interest for everyone there. It's, I've never had and I'm sure you haven't, a negative. It's not easy to hear the truth, but the truth is the truth all day long.
I on occasion, I've had several murders, suicides, missing people. That's a different vibrational energy.
True.
It's, by the way, just to back up a little bit, and I have to mention Barbara is 110% on the money. There are times when I've had people come and they're looking specifically for a person, and I cannot connect for whatever reason. I've sent people away in a nice way. It's like, look, what I'm getting is something you're not really into or want, and in a nice way, I'll tell them, if you want to come back 6 months, a year from now, and I can clear things out. But I would say that happens. It's rare, but I know when I'm going to connect, so to speak, and I know when I'm on. And I can also tell, I hate to use the term, when I'm cold. When it's not going to work, it's not going to work.
There's definitely that time, too, and it's not convenient.
No, it's not convenient at all.
Especially if someone's come and driven a long way or flew or, or whatever to get there, and you just go, oh, crap, and you just got to, say, hey, you deal with it and wish them the best, and that's all you can do, because that's all you can do. You can't, we don't make this up, okay? It is something that comes through. It has nothing to do with us at all. We're just, I'm the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger,
Down the road from me is this Chinese restaurant that makes great Mai Tais. And if I can't connect, I usually send them there. After 2 or 3 Mai Tais, you'll be okay. But yeah, it's people come, and is they have an expectation, and I can understand that totally. But this is not Verizon. It's like I don't have 4G. You can't always just dial them up. We were doing an event one evening, and I made the mistake before we got there. We were on our way, and I said to my wife, I said, I wonder what would happen if I got in front of all these people and nothing came.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. We got there.
Famous last words.
Yeah, we opened the evening. I went out in front of everybody, and I drew a blank. For the first, I was ready to start singing and dancing. I said, look, I got to go outside for a minute. I took a break, and I actually apologized to the universe. It's like, hey guys, sorry, show me the magic, let it happen. And I think I had to just reorganize my brain. Went back in, and bam, everything hit.
On.
But I'll tell you, for those few minutes, it was like, okay, this is going to be a long evening, But yeah, it's I even had I always get a kick out of it when that same evening I picked up on this lady that came through, and I described her. I knew who she was, and the woman knew who she was, and the woman looked at me and she says, "I don't want to talk to her." I said, "Really?" She said, "That's my ex-mother-in-law," and she said, "I really don't want to talk to her." And I said, "But she's got something important to tell you." "Nope, don't want to talk to her." So I let it go.
Oh my God!
Usually halfway through the evening, we take a break for a few minutes. So I took a break, and I'm standing there, and the lady comes up to me, and she said quietly, "What did she have to say?" And I said, "She doesn't mind me divorcing her son because he's an idiot." So yeah, you run into some really crazy stuff. People always assume that everything is like I said, like on television. It's not. The other part is validation. Because I do this for a living, it's almost like you have people that come and will understand that A is it's an energetic form, B is you're seeing it but you're describing it, and then the other part, but sometimes there are people that want to be so specific, and when I first started, I used to almost try to give ages, like. I remember one night I'm going the lady's coming through and she said she's 43 and a woman looks at me. She's no, she's 42, and I'm going give me a break. So nowadays I usually describe age groups. Okay,
right.
a child and so forth. And the other part. A lot of times people come, and God forbid when grandma comes through. You know how many people I've seen with, the bad perm, in the house coat? Because this is New England.
Mm-hmm.
Typically in New England, it's the bad perm, the house coat, and they're making meatloaf. It's like, oh, no, not another one.
I see that a lot, too, and I don't think I've done nearly as many as you, as groups, but I've done a lot of single work and over 30 years, and I always get the grandma like that too. So that's interesting to hear that. And for me, they always have that sweater on with the handkerchief in the pocket.
Oh, doesn't it drive you nuts? Worse than that, most of the time I can hear Wheel of Fortune in the background.
Oh, no.
So you can hear, the TV in the other room, and you can see that kind of light bouncing, and it's like, Wheel of Fortune. And they're like, please.
You got my mom. That's my mom.
Yeah, not another one,
My mom had this favorite red sweater. Oh. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking, sometimes I would doubt, perhaps maybe it's me, maybe I need to work on that filter stuck or something, but invariably it would just come, and it feels right, so you just got to go with it.
Well, one evening I was really excited because I heard Jeopardy in the background. It's like, yay! But what it is there are so many people with commonalities. That it's sometimes, and I even had people fighting over dead people because of the groups. We were out one evening, we're in the middle of an evening, gentleman came through, lived in a white cottage by the lake, retired military, blah, 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 and two people in the audience are going, "That's my grandfather." And I'm going, "Are you related?" And they're going, "No, I got down to the point where I had to tell them, like, I was getting real specific, like, like what kind of socks the guy's got on, because it was like one of those crazy nights. And then finally we got through because the guy said Frank, and I'm going like, oh God, thank you. It turns out, I always tell people, don't fight over the dead people. There's plenty to go around, Well, that's the other part. While you're doing this, I try to inject at least some humor into it. It's not during the reading maybe, but because you don't want to be morbid. You got to have fun with people. I do probably 25 group events or more a year, and we were doing one, and this was a fundraiser, and we were at a country club, and we had a pretty good crowd, and after an hour I took a break, and I'm going to the men's room, and there's a guy that came, and he's walking up with me, and he looks at me and says, he said, I want to tell you something. And I said, what's that? He said, you're not that funny. And I said, okay. He said, all you would do is talk about dead people. I said, yeah. He said, I'm a medium. Oh, my wife told me this was a comedy show.
Oh, my gosh.
That's how she got him to go.
Oh.
And wouldn't you know, after the break, he's the guy I had to read for.
Oh. Hilarious.
Yeah, so it was a Friday night show because, and evidently maybe she promised him he could go play golf in the morning. I don't know. But because my audience base is primarily, it's about 85% women. You get the token male or the 15% of the men that are coming, and they're pretty brave. And I always thank them for coming and tell them, the good thing is, like if it's a dinner or whatever, you're the guy that always gets the extra dessert, so you might as well come. But it's always interesting. You look at the group of people you're reading for, and you wonder sometimes you wonder who is your audience. But I've noticed that it's every walk of life.
Is there a group agreement? I always would. I remember just to see what do they have in common, all of them together, that brought them here in this room at this time.
Yeah. You always wonder, It's like when I first began years ago, I was a little naive. I used to go with my heart chakra open, totally. And the interesting thing is, I got whacked one night, but it wasn't from the people on the other side. It was from somebody on this side. There was a gentleman that, I'll use the term, was a living person, and he was very toxic. And he went because his children asked him to, and it was his wife that came through. And he had a lot of unfinished business, and he wanted no part of this. And this dude sent such venom out that it was almost like somebody whacked me in the heart chakra.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know he didn't intentionally direct it at me like that. I don't, if he could, he'd be pretty powerful. But the energy coming off this guy was just so toxic that it was kind of like, whoa, As a matter of fact, he got up and left the evening, and his family apologized. They came over and said, we're really sorry. We shouldn't have asked him here. Sometimes people aren't ready.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, especially in public, too, if you had something, you're in public, that was probably his problem with it.
Oh, big time. He wasn't ready to admit that they even had an issue. The other part is I do not mind skeptics. If somebody's in the audience and they're there because they're not quite sure or whatever. We were doing one evening, and I had a detective from New Jersey. He was up in New England on holiday with his wife, and he came because he said, I heard it was interesting, and they have good food here, and blah, blah, blah. And once I got into it, he really got wrapped up to the point where, he was following me around going, can I ask you one more question? Can I ask you one more question? So I don't mind, people that are skeptical as long as they're polite.
Yeah.
I'll even tell people, I'd rather have skeptical sometimes. I find it sometimes.
Yeah.
I actually find it harder to read for people, I believe, sometimes almost too much.
It's true. I had a lady once. She challenged me in front of everyone. I know you've had this, and so she said, "You're reading them with your eyes, the answers." And I said, "Okay." I go, "Can you come up here for a second?" She came up and I said, "Can I use your scarf?" I go, "Can you see through your scarf?" And she said, "No." I go, "Do you mind?" And I wrapped it around my eye and kept it there. And then I couldn't stand. I had to stand, and then people would come up one at a time to the microphone, and that's all it took for her. And I actually thought it was kind of fun. I actually kind of enjoyed it that way.
I was just going to ask you, would you mind if I tried that some night in front of people?
It's so much fun because you don't need your eyes at all. You don't use your eyes at all whatsoever.
No, I know, but that would be kind of neat. I never thought of that.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And so she was like. But the thing is my son was there. He goes, "Mom, those are some of your better readings because like with you, sometimes you kind of don't want them totally falling apart so that they can walk, or you don't want to fry them too much. You want to be very, very respectful to their space. But with the eyes, and you can't see. I didn't keep Ron, my son, there. Everyone was just crying everywhere, and I couldn't see any of it. So it was fun to take the challenge, like you're saying, and go with it.
And now, for anyone out there in the audience, I'll use the term, there are schools of fraudulent mediums. And I don't know if you're familiar with billet readings.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, what's that?
Oh, goody. I'll explain some of the fun stuff to you guys.
Okay.
Let's say you go to see someone, and they're doing what's called the billet readings. Billet readings are when you come in and you write down a question on the piece of paper. You put it in a hat or a basket. The gentleman basically puts the paper up to his forehead, kind of like Johnny Carson used to do on The Tonight Show.
Right.
And says, well, Mary Jane, whatever, in the audience wants to know if her mother's here tonight, the woman with the big diamond ring. Well, what it is, basically, is they have a reading in the beginning that's already preset, and the rest of them are lined up so you know what it says as you put them to your forehead. It's a memorization. Okay? Then there are also, if you look and really study, you can learn frequency of names from specific years. If you think of, let's say, from 1925 to 1940, the most common male names were Joe, John, George. They were very plain. As it changes over the years, if you look up the years and find out names, you can throw out names and come up with, like you can hit probably, I would say, 60% of the time. So that's the fraudulent part. It's like...
That's too much work.
It's a lot of work. It's like when people... I've had a couple people go like, did you Google me? I don't even know who the heck you are, okay? This morning, I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. I jumped in my car. I drove out to Springfield, which is like an hour from here, and I did live radio for an hour doing, like, people, the call-up part. And people were looking for this person, looking for that person. And all you get's a first name. I don't even see the phone. It's live on air. I can hear them through the speaker, and I'm, fielding this and fielding that and doing this and doing that. So as far as looking them up on Google, you're right. I don't have the time. I don't have the internet directory of obituaries, nor do I care. But especially. Sometimes people come and they're looking for something that passed 25 years ago,
Right, of course.
It's not like they passed 3 weeks ago and you could read the obit or find them online.
Yeah. Or they've just never met them. a grandmother they never met,
Yeah.
or since childhood.
I've even had people come to get. I had a lady that came to get a recipe. Her grandmother made the world's best red velvet cake.
Oh, I want it. I want it.
Well, the secret was a teaspoon of vinegar.
Cocoa.
Vinegar.
Vinegar?
Yeah.
Wow. I've never heard of that.
A teaspoon of vinegar went in the cake. I don't know what that does to it, but...
I'll be darned. I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah. You know, because this lady's going like, it never tasted like Grams and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And Graham went through, that's because I put a teaspoon of vinegar in it. It's like,
that's
okay.
So cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That's all you do.
It's fun. It's fun.
The other thing I find...
learn so much.
Oh, yeah. The other thing I find interesting is quite often, I don't know about you, but I end up speaking like the person.
Oh, God.
Oh, I was going to ask about that.
Kind of soft channeling it, right? Kind of soft channel. I don't know. That's what I call it. A soft channel. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You know, you'll pick up key phrases or you'll pick up mannerisms. And one night I stood in front of all these people wringing my hands. You know, like. And that's just what this guy would do. When he got nervous, he would stand there and he'd rub his hands together. And I'm looking down going like, wait a minute.
Why am I wringing my hands?
Janet,
we had a medium in...
Yeah? Go ahead.
Yeah. We had a medium here in Honolulu. His name was Arthur Pacheco. And, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought maybe my mute button was on. And he would bring in Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
I know him.
And he sounded...
Yes.
Well, he's now deceased. Maybe he's...
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Sorry, I'm excited, but I know who he was.
No. Well, tell me what you know about it, because that's the one... That was the first one I was exposed to, Arthur Pacheco. And he was really good. And I just loved him.
He was fun. He kind of almost sometimes had a drawl in the beginning. When Arthur Conan Doyle would come in, it was kind of like, and then all of a sudden it would straighten out and you could hear the accent more. He was really good. He was fun. He was dramatic, too. You know, I always pictured him in a smoking jacket. You know, like should have been in a big wingback chair and with a smoking jacket and, you know, like the drink on the side and a dimly lit room with wood paneling. You know, I mean nice wood paneling. And the books in the back.
Nice.
That's what he belonged at, you know. I can remember going to see the Grand Dame. What was her name? She had like 1 million books out at one point.
Blavatsky or different generation?
Not Blavatsky?
No, not Blavatsky. This is recent. She was on Montel Williams a lot.
I can see her.
Oh yeah.
Blonde lady had like 5.
No.
She has like 5 husbands. She had long fingernails. Anyway, we got invited.
Sylvia Brown.
Sylvia Brown.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
We got invited.
Name that psychic.
Yeah. We got invited to go see her. So we're in like the garden in Boston, and there's like 4,000 people because she packed a crowd. And she was tough. Okay. Before her, this gentleman from England, Gordon, came out. He was wonderful. And then Sylvia came out, and she would allow one question. You'd get a ticket, and if you were lucky enough, you could ask Sylvia a question. And this young girl got up, and in a very shaky voice, she said, "Sylvia, my sister's been missing for 4 years." Sylvia looked at her and said, "Honey, your sister ain't missing. She's dead. She's in the river, and she'll come floating up in the spring." And I'm going like, whoa.
God.
You know, I mean, that was her style.
Wow.
Yeah, if you look at her finesse, she was pretty good, you know?
I thought she was good, too. There were some things I didn't like, but I thought she was a really damn good reader.
Except for her delivery.
Yeah. Yeah, I was able to see her too as a star in Vegas. Yeah.
But she was interesting. I did get to work with John Edwards a couple times.
Oh, cool.
He's very nice. He bought breakfast, so I liked him.
Oh.
I was asked, would you like to work with him? And it was on radio, and I said, sure. So I was expecting, like, a limo to pull up because he was in the city. And instead, this little Subaru pulled up. He jumped out with, like, tennis sneakers, a hoodie, and he said, come on, where can we get breakfast? And I'm thinking to myself, I like this guy already. And he was very human, I can't, and pretty much, what was really interesting, we're in studio and we were live on air, and he was describing to this lady online about how the husband had passed, there was a severe heart attack and this and that, and she's going, no, my husband's sitting right here with me, and he said, it has to be. He said, I'm picking this up. If he would have turned around, he would have saw the woman standing in the doorway of the station sobbing. It was her husband he was picking up.
Mm.
But the direction was wrong. So, and by the way, luckily that wasn't on air, so that was pretty cool. So, like, he was 110% right. He was just picking up the wrong person.
Oh, wow.
Well, they don't always direct you perfectly.
No.
Right.
They don't go up point and go, hey, it's him.
Hey, can I ask you, so when did you know this is what you wanted to do, or have you always been, a sensitive since you were born, or let's hear the...
Yeah. I fell off a turnip truck. No.
And then on my head, and then I was psychic.
Even as a kid, I had something different, but back when I was young, they usually put you somewhere and gave you electric shock for it. So I was kind of quiet. What I did is I ended up going to art school, and I would paint what I could see. That was my outlet. And then in the 80s, cable TV came in, and suddenly there were mediums and psychic everywhere, and it was okay. You know what I mean? It's like...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I was still in the closet for a long time because, it's still an odd profession. And I would like... You know what psychic fairs are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I would travel, I would leave here. I live in central Mass, and I would travel, into Connecticut. And I worked with this great group of crazy people, and we would go from, hotel ballroom to hotel ballroom and work someplace every different weekend. So around here, nobody really knew what I did, because during the week, I actually owned a little retail store. So I'd be running the store during the week, and on the weekend, I was like this other person. And that was all well and good. Until one day I ended up with a gig on the radio, and little did I know that station basically was heard just about everywhere. So it kind of messed up. Yeah, it kind of messed up the, I'll go somewhere else and be the psychic guy. And then I had to come out of the closet and tell people, this is what I did. And my parents were alive back then, and I can remember my dad. It was really funny. We had a post office box, and people were, reserving for a reading or whatever, and they would, send a check or whatever, and my dad would say, you're getting, all these checks in the mail? He said, I don't exactly know what you do, but keep doing it.
Oh.
And that was it. My parents were very nice like that. They, as long as you're happy and healthy, they could care less what you did. Which was pretty cool.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. But
what do you think happened in the 80s that made that open up? Because I remember when I was a kid, we didn't have anything on it, but I was seeing ghosts, and there was nowhere to really talk to anybody. But then something happened with the psychic fairs, and I was so delighted because, I would go to them and, hang out. What do you think happened that made people wake up?
Well,
in the 80s?
It's really funny. In the late 1800s, it was the rage. There were psychics and mediums everywhere. And then World War I came, and I think there was so much tragedy, and there was so much, the energy in the world had changed. And then right after that, again, there was, depression and war, and there was so much trauma. And I think maybe people just wanted to forget for a while. And then the 50s came along, and everybody was busy making money. Then we get into, like, the 60s.
Making babies.
Making babies, yeah. It's like the greatest generation was home. The 60s and 70s came along, and, I think the New Age movement, like from Woodstock on, people started looking at other things. And then by that time, they were primed because now, like I said, when I was a kid, you had 5 channels on the TV, and you had to move the antenna around. And suddenly...
Right, yeah, I was a kid at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, good. But suddenly you had like 80 channels, and they had to fill the content, so they started putting mediums on, and they started putting on psychics, and then it was okay again. It took us out of the back room and put people into the light. And I think once that happened, even when I was, like I say, even when I started, I don't know how many little rooms, with the candle burning and the cafe beads in a dark room that I read in. It's kind of like half the places I read in were like that. Matter of fact, you can go to Boston. You can go to the tea room.
That was fun.
Yeah. The tea room in Boston on Tremont Street is still like that, and it's kind of cool, My son, my youngest, is in college, and he's up at Salem State. He's in, like, if you want to find a medium, there's one every 3 feet.
Yeah.
Well, you go to, right now, Salem is gearing up for October already. But, so yeah, I think the climate changed, and even science changed with it. Suddenly people in the scientific world were going like, well, there is more than there's other dimensions, and there are things we don't know, and we found this sound wave, and we found this energy pattern, and it all started to kind of make sense,
Right.
So, look, I try to balance too. This is what I do, but the balance part is, on our way home tonight, I had some things to do, and my wife and I went out for dinner. I wasn't sitting on a mountaintop meditating about tomorrow. We had dinner. I had to get gas in the car. We came home and had to take the dogs out. My life is balanced with the normal end, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Because I find people sometimes, I hate to use the term, sometimes people go beyond to become overly metaphysical.
Right.
Not everything is a sign. I had a flat tire today. Is that a sign? No, yeah, it's a sign you ran over a nail.
I had a dear friend ask me. She goes, I'm gonna go get my doctorate, and I have to take this big test, and can I just psychically take the test, or do I actually need to study? And I just went, you need to go stop what you're doing right now and go study, of course, but it was like, can I just psychically go past that test? No, you actually have to take all the action, the right action,
You can psychically do it. Good luck.
Yeah.
Tell me when you're redoing the test. It'll be great.
Right, right.
Well, it's like when people are like, can you give me the lottery numbers?
Of course. Don't,
Hey,
I
used to be really good at the dailies, like the 4 numbers.
Uh-huh.
And that didn't work out good either. I was on a radio station in Boston, and somebody, as you said, the testing stuff. Guy called up and said, if you're really psychic, give me the daily lottery number. And I did. And I went back the next month. And he said, he called back. And
That's
he said,
cool.
you're not that good. And I said, why?
Oh.
He said, I won. I said, what's your problem? Well, 4,500 other people also played, and I only got $50. I can't win either way, okay?
Right.
So even when I'm right, sometimes you can't hit it, you know.
Yeah. And a lot of times you don't get to hear or know what has really transpired after or during what happens. You know, we never get to really see the real lasting effects of after we give them information.
Well, you know what's nice? My wife and I, right now we're going through a revamp. We're putting up a new website and doing all this stuff. And the lady working with us said, do you have any testimonials? And we started digging through letters from people.
Oh.
And because, you know, your everyday life, you read them, you put them away, you forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at some of these, and that's kind of the neat thing. People going like you really helped me, or you did this, or you did that. And for someone, especially in this day and age, to take the time to actually write a letter, that's pretty cool.
Right.
So yeah, you get those. Or recently I've read for several people, like I saw you 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
You know, it was like, of course, unfortunately, I had one lady called up and she's telling my wife, Gary read for me 10 years ago, you know, and she gave us her name and stuff. He'll remember me. And I'm going like, okay.
Yeah, but you do remember the energy when you start to read them, though. It comes back, right?
But
that's
you know,
the part that's kind of, yeah.
That first
but
meeting,
you don't
like
remember...
she'll get out of the car and I'll be going like, okay.
Yeah, I like that too. I don't remember them at all.
I've got a pretty good memory, but you know, oh yeah. You're the lady with the nice earrings. Okay. It's all fun, you know.
Yeah, it is.
That's the other thing. I as serious as I take what I do, I thank whoever is out there watching over all of this every day.
You bet.
You know. And by the way, I do not prescribe to know who or what holds the universe together. I know there's something out there, but that's on a higher vibrational plane. I'm sure not allowed into. You know, on the channeling.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, I think the beautiful thing about it is a mystery, and we get to live with that mystery, and there's some beauty to that.
Yeah, I kind of don't want all the answers.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those deals. Do I know that? Because people wonder, you know, because of what I do, am I anti-religious? No, I think there's beauty in all of them. You know, I find everyone's culture is beautiful. Everyone's idea of who they believe God is or what God is, they all have a right to believe, you know, long as they don't harm anyone with it, and you know they don't force it on anybody else. That's a wonderful thing, you know. I'm open to everything. Doesn't mean I'm going to go practice it, but I'm open to it.
Yeah.
You know, that's one more part. I have never had anyone come through who wouldn't talk to me like, well, I'm on the other side and I won't talk to you because I'm Catholic, or I won't talk to you because I'm Jewish. It doesn't matter, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had nuns come through, priests come through, and I've got some, I'll use the term international clients, and unfortunately, I'm pretty much an English-speaking person. I can manage to understand some, but I really couldn't speak much of anything. But yet, I even had a group of people come in from Mexico. They brought an interpreter with them, and I'm sitting there talking to this dude about his father and how, you know, like the last time he saw him, he was in the plaza and blah, blah, blah. And the guy's going, yeah. And then at one point, in the middle of it, his sister said, "How do you know what he's saying? Because he never spoke English." And I think it's like Google Translator. You know,
right.
I don't think there's language. I think it's a universal deal. You know,
it would be beyond telepathy even.
Yeah, you're reading the thought. You're not reading the language.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, you know, because I mean, we've had people from Vietnam. I've had people from, you know, the Soviet Union or Russia nowadays, and you know, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just because the language is a barrier, if they bring somebody with them, and by the way, those are tough readings because you're waiting for the interpreter to reinterpret what you're interpreting from someone on the other side. You know,
right.
It's like, okay, you put it out there, and then you have to wait for the interpreter to deliver.
Right.
Those aren't easy. We had a large contingency in Brazil for a while. I have no idea. It's almost like I get people in groups, ethnic groups. You know, all of a sudden I'll have like 4 or 5 clients from Brazil, and then, you know, I'll get a couple from like the Ukraine. How they get here, I don't know. Okay, but it's always fun. And actually, the fun part with those people is describing where they are, because to me the scenes are alien, and I don't mean like outer space alien.
Right.
You know, the other day I had a gentleman who came through, and he was home. Home happened to be Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico has a lot of dense vegetation, has dirt roads, has this, you know, and I'm describing like a whole different scene from. We're sitting in New England, okay, and I'm talking literally, you know, even the way the guy was dressed, he had on a white shirt with a full frontal embroidery on it, which turns out was what they buried him in. So yeah, it's pretty cool, you know. Barbara, I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
Have you ever had anybody come through critiquing their funeral yet?
Not offhand. I can't think of one.
I've had several.
I have not. But I haven't done as many as you on that either.
But I've had people come through critiquing their funeral. You know, like, and some of it's really touching. I had one guy come and he was talking about the note that his daughter put in his pocket. You know, that was nice. Sometimes
well, let's say they liked it or didn't like it. I think my mother would probably have complained about her funeral.
Well, I've had a few of those too. Like, how come there weren't more people there? Like, I thought I'd have a bigger crowd.
Can you get the word out?
Oh yeah. You know, it's like, or why did you cremate me? I wanted to be buried. Oh yeah. I've had, you know, it's like I've had several people critiquing, you know, like what they did. You know, like I thought this would happen, or sometimes I've even had them come through complaining about what people did after the will.
I've had that.
Oh.
Yeah. Like I
Tell
said,
us about that. What are some examples?
Yeah. Well, the one where
like what happened?
Well, 2 sisters were deciding what to do, and one sister said that the mother had actually put something that they needed in a specific place, and then the other sister said they were kind of fighting, and then the mother on the other side said, go to that certain place and find it, and they did. And that's happened several times where they're looking for things that they need, not a deed or anything, it's just like some simple things sometimes that makes all the difference.
Oh, yeah. I had a lady.
Especially jewelry.
Yes.
With the women. Jewelry,
yeah, why'd
right?
you give her the ring?
Yes. Exactly. I forgot about that. Go ahead.
And, by the way, some of the simplest things connect. When you do this, you cannot leave out anything you're seeing.
Right.
A while back, up here in Massachusetts, we got this company called Table Talk, and they make these little tiny pies, like you could hold one in your hand. And
man, I want one.
Yeah, they have like cherry and lemon, and they're usually like $2 for $1. Okay, And they were a staple in New England, in this area, probably for like the last 50 years. And I had a guy come through eating a little tiny pineapple pie. And as soon as I mentioned this, the family lit up, like I just given them the Kentucky Derby Prize winner. Dad's eating his table talk pie. It was like, but that would have been so easy to just blow off.
Right.
Right.
That's the key, because that made it real to them.
Yeah. It's like, I wish everybody just sit there and eat a table talk pie. It would be easy. But, but when it came through, and I think the fun part was, pineapple is not like the biggest seller. It's like cherry or apple here. But this dude loves pineapple. And, he was sitting there munching on that pie, and he had this grin on. And it's like, ooh, here we go. So evidently his version of heaven was a tiny pineapple table talk pie.
I love it. I can relate.
Sure.
Do you find music?
So they can eat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got news for you. There's beer in heaven. You know the old song, in heaven there is no beer? That's wrong. You know how many people I've had come through sitting at a bar at the VFW?
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah. And have a few.
Yeah, well, think about it. What if that's your favorite place?
Right.
Your friends are there, your associates are there.
Community. It's community.
Yeah, I don't think there's any rule, okay? So it's like, I've even had a lady that came through asking me if she looked good. She's standing there going like, hey, do I still look good? And I'm telling her kids this. And I said, by the way, Mom says she had great legs, and they started laughing. Well, like, we know, we've heard about it 1,000 times, but she really didn't.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It's too weird, It's all good. It's all lovely. Right now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, and part of the job is to dispel fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when they come, they have so much fear, and and by doing the work, you get to see their whole body change, their whole, they can let go and be happy or be at peace again.
For whatever reason, I'm in no rush to get there. I guess I still got things to do, but I'm also not afraid of it. If the time comes and the number's up, and it is what it is. Sometimes I feel bad because I'll get people in, let's say, their 20s or 30s that have passed, and they're very unfinished. I'm at a point in my life where, I'm not pushing it to go, but I've enjoyed my life, and I don't really have any complaints. Like everybody else, you have stuff that happens, but so as far as the fear goes, and one other part, I've never seen a devil.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to explain this.
Explain that, please.
Okay. In the Christian concept, like the devil do with the wings and the pitchfork and the horns and the whole bit.
Right.
I've been doing this a long time, and I've never run into them. I've seen people that in life hadn't been good, and they seem to be going over what they've done. I've had apologies. I've had people unapologetic still going over what they've done. But the concept of hell seems to be a bit different on the other side. I think that concept is, I think if you knowingly harm or willfully do, it's not penance, but you got to kind of figure it out. Otherwise, you seem to stay in that lower vibration for a long time. Do you get to advance or evolve? I don't think so. There is one other part to this. As far as like how long do you stay in that state, I think as long as we connect to them. You mentioned Prince.
Okay.
Well, you mentioned Prince.
Yes.
You mentioned David Bowie. They're going to be around for a long time. People play their music. They idolize them. 100 years from now, there's a good chance they're going to be like Mozart. And as long as we connect to them, I think their energy wants to stick around. But if you're John Doe potato farmer from 1820 and you have no relatives left, I think you move on and beyond this to a higher consciousness yet. I'm in New England, which
that's quite true.
Yeah,
Well, it's about the love. It's all about the love, right? That's the real, the secret sauce. Okay, it's the love part.
Well, if you watch any reality TV, they have 122 ghost shows on, and you'll notice very seldom do they catch intelligent conversation. He said a word. The door squeaked. Don't you think if someone's really there, they're going to go like, "Hey, could you tell Margaret that I'm okay?"
Yeah. It's really cold in here. It's a little drafty,
What they're picking up, I honestly believe, is like a loop. What's happened is they're picking up an emotion that got caught in that physical moment in time. I don't believe they're truly picking up a consciousness. So that's why they're not getting a lot of memory. They're not getting, as you put it, that higher vibration of love. They're not getting that. They're getting a momentary memory that's caught in a time. A few years ago, Virginia and I were down in Gettysburg, which is a beautiful place. And many of the people there, what got caught was that moment because it was so horrific for them. So it's like that loop that just keeps replaying. I don't believe they're stuck on that day and their consciousness is there. It's just that emotional imprint that's there.
Right, and all the people that go there and keep that alive with their emotional imprints, And
it is funny. We went to Gettysburg, and I don't want to say it's lighthearted, but, you can walk down the street and it's like Gettysburgers.
Awesome.
And they got the tours and the whole bit, and there's flowers. You drive down the road about 10 miles and you can go to Antietam, which was one of the most horrific battles of the war. And the energy shifts to the point where I could only stay there for like 10 minutes. I paid my respects, but I didn't want to stay there. You could still feel the pain and the sorrow in the land. That's just like I was in Europe. I had the opportunity to. Someone said to me, "I'm going to Auschwitz. Do you want to go?" I went with a group of people, and there were kids with cameras, and there were people walking around, and there was a school tour there, and I walked in. I said some prayers. I told them that I was sorry that humanity hadn't improved yet, and then I left. I couldn't stay.
I don't think I could stay there.
I was glad that I paid my respects and said a prayer, but as far, it's kind of like it's not a tourist place. It's one of those places where people, if you go humbly, pay your respects, and wish that energy of all those people well. Hopefully they've gone beyond to a better place. So, anyway, that's the other end of the business.
Right. I had something similar when I went to Scotland. I was on the plane. I had never been to Scotland before. I went to Edinburgh, and I just burst out in tears, just crying like a baby. And then I figured out later when we're walking the streets that the cities are built. That the city is built over bodies of people who were, from the plague.
Yeah, if you were in Edinburgh, you had people that lived under the city in the catacombs.
Yes, I went to the catacombs. And, Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you had families, you had people.
Yeah.
Literally, these people had no other place to be. They lived in the catacombs, so you're going to pick up that energy.
I did, and oh my God, and we know how to protect ourselves. We know all about all that kind of thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
But still, it was so there. I didn't finish. We went on a tour, and I just left my husband. I go, and I did like you did. I just prayed, and
Yeah.
And left because I just couldn't do it.
This Sunday I have another program I have to be on, and the gentleman is, I'll use the term, fairly famous in the parapsychological world, and I kind of sort of agree with him because is there nasty things on the planet? Yeah, but I think there are things that are, I hate to use the term, worse than people. But I don't believe they're from here. I don't believe it's people and I wouldn't give them the benefit of considering they're connected to religion. I think they sneak in some other way. I think it's a different vibrational form altogether.
Almost like a parasite.
Yeah, now you got it. They're feeding off of somebody's energy here to give themselves whatever. Because I've been called several times to get rid of stuff. That's
Don't
the
you
other
want a
thing.
whole team with you when you do that, though? I don't like doing that by myself. I want a whole team with me, like a superhero psychic team,
No, I want to go in by myself because I'm always afraid somebody's going to be...
Oh,
yeah.
that they would go through that person. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that.
And there's a whole preparation to it. It's kind of like you want to clear everything out. You don't want to give them a foothold anywhere. And you literally... The other thing is, one of the things I learned years ago is when you release something like that, you can send it back through what I call the fabric, in other words. But you can't kill it. You can't get rid of it because it's not physical. You send it back out into the universe. It may pop up somewhere later on. Who knows? But at least you can get rid of it from this present cycle.
Right.
I went through a whole ordeal with something like that, and we got done, and I told the people, I said, now that it's over, the best thing you can do is not to, I don't want to say remember it, but don't dramatize it. Don't bring it in your everyday conversation. Don't give it credence to be here. And what did they do?
Yeah, don't give it energy. Don't
Right.
give it energy.
Well, a lady turned around and called the reality program and wanted to know if they wanted to make a documentary. So they called me up and said, would you like to recreate this? And I said, no.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, count me out because,
right.
I said, matter of fact, I wish them a lot of luck. I said, look,
Yeah.
you bring in a camera crew, you bring in all of these people, there's a good chance this is like inviting it back.
Sure.
And I said,
Giving
I got
it
news
power.
for you. This time, I'm not going to be there. And just to let you know, they did.
Oh, geez.
And this is going to sound really weird, but I had one of those in the house I grew up in.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a stairwell, and I had a foster sister for a while there, because I was the only child, so my parents took in this friend of mine.
Yeah.
And my mother said, don't open this door that goes from the kitchen to the second floor. And so we were forbidden, but my foster sister, she just, they were at church, and she went down and she opened the door.
Of course.
And then this thing came out, like the poltergeist beast.
Yep.
And I go down because she's yelling, and I go down, and I just fall on the floor, and I'm screaming. And my mother, who was 3 blocks away in church, stands up, says, Bill, you got to take me home. My dad obeyed my mother, who was a very wise husband.
Yep.
And he brought her home, and she ran up the stairs, and she somehow made it go back. And like she almost like a witch. She just grabbed its energy, and she pushed it back in the stairwell, and then she slammed the door, And she went over to us and she said, I told you children to never open that door. And we never talked about it again.
Mom was pretty cool. You know. Well,
wow.
It's really interesting, but usually when I get something like that, it's because what I mentioned, like the ghost hunter people and this and that, they'll get a call and they'll go in and they'll use their gauges and they'll do this and they'll do that, and they'll prove that it's there, and then they get in their van and they drive away. And it's kind of like, still there. And they go, yeah, you got it. Well, can you get rid of it? Well, no, we don't do that. We just prove it's there.
Now what do? I don't live in this house.
Before I would venture to do anything like that, we go through a rather rigorous questioning and screening. You know, and sometimes people get offended, but, you know, are there drugs in the house? What's the status of the family? What, you know, blah, blah, blah. Is there anything new that's been added? I just don't walk in and go like, yeah, okay, you got something. So you know what I mean? It's like...
So true.
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to get a call every day going like, there's something in my... And then I get places that want... I have had places that want it certified. Especially like hotels and restaurants.
Right, because they can charge more for it, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's certified by Gary, okay?
Sure. we have
wow.
Across the border in Rhode Island, there's a local restaurant that's their claim to fame. I mean, the food's good, but,
yeah.
You know, hopefully while you're there, the salt and pepper shakers are going to move.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Of course, like
when we were in Scotland, we stayed at the Witchery, and you pay extra for the certain rooms that have entities in them. And I told my sister, no way, I am not doing that.
Oh.
I want to sleep.
Yeah, but can you imagine how disappointed you're going to be if you paid extra for the room and you just sleep through the night?
I know. Yeah.
That's terrible. You know?
Yeah. No thanks.
Hey,
I gotta go.
Oh.
I gotta go.
Oh, okay.
I told Janet.
Any final words for Gary?
Well, Gary, I just love you.
Oh, thanks. The feeling's
and
mutual.
And your beautiful wife and family, and
thank you.
And it's just been an honor to be with you on the show today and get to know you and meet an amazing person. So thank you.
You too. This has been fun. I feel like it's been psychic chat.
Yeah,
it's been the psychic chat.
With a little fireside. You
yeah.
know, we're both in our jackets and our pipe and right.
If you start talking like Arthur Conan Doyle, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Thank you.
Oh, I know you have to run, dear.
I do. I could. Take care.
Bye.
See you.
Okay.
See you when I see
Bye.
you. Bye.
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 Talk to you later. Oh, that was fun.
She's lovely.
Isn't she amazing? You know, I realized when we were talking, I've never seen her do her thing, you know, work a room.
Really?
I met her at other events, and they were around UFOs, but I've never seen her do her psychic stuff. So I probably won't see you because you're way on the other side of the world from me. But
well, you never know. I show up at different places. Yeah, I show up at a lot of different places.
That's true. Well, if I ever do conferences again, I'll certainly invite you. I'm hoping to expand on that. I did it last year, and I got so sick. It's a lot of work, but I think I'm building a team now. I don't mind doing it if I have a team. But well, I guess we can start winding this up. And I just wanted to say, so when Arthur Pacheco channeled Arthur Conan Doyle, well, one day I was surfing the internet, and they had a recording of Arthur Conan Doyle. So I keyed up the video of Arthur Pacheco channeling Arthur Conan Doyle, and then I had the video of the real Sir Arthur Conan Doyle talking. And you know what? He sounded pretty damn close.
and you know, one of the things when I mentioned the validation process, if you were to go toe-to-toe, you'll probably find there were probably just too many things that on a personal or a certain level that he couldn't have known. That's always the part that I enjoy. I'm sure there were a lot of people that would have said, "Oh, it was a great act," blah blah blah. But I'm sure the man was real. I have no doubt about that. And anybody that's read anything from Arthur Conan Doyle would understand if anybody could come back, this guy would.
Yeah, he was pretty magical.
Yeah.
So where are you going to be next? What's the next place you're presenting? I guess you're doing things all the time.
We are going to be in a great location. We're going to be up in Maine at the Bethel Inn Resort, which is a gorgeous hotel and inn from the 1800s. We're going to be doing a large group reading up there, and that one is October 1st. It's leaf peeping time here in New England then, and it's kind of it's a great destination, so we're going to be there. We're doing a Halloween ball, that's just for fun. That's near us. If anybody's on the mainland and they happen to be coming to New England, I've got a whole myriad of things we're doing with that. When I mentioned fundraisers, like I said, we do about 20 of those a year for all kind of different causes. I have a whole listing on the webpage of fundraisers we're at. We do everything from Autism Speaks to Alzheimer's. One of my heart charities is a group called pinkhippie.org. Pink Hippie helps cancer victims with everything is for free. These girls literally are not funded by anybody. They provide yoga classes, they provide wigs, they provide rides, they provide reflexology, massage, and it's all no expense to the cancer victim. So every year we do a fundraiser for them. So we're constantly somewhere. Next month we're also doing something for a group called the Giving Tree, and that's a cancer organization. So if anybody is on the East Coast and they want to find us, the website is GaryMcKinstry.com. And I do phone readings for people, so the other day I was actually
right?
Yeah, I was reading for somebody in Ontario. Doesn't matter where you are. So yeah, vibration is vibration, no matter where you are on the planet. Well, once you lock in,
I hope people respond and come and see you. I love the fall in the East because it's got all the beautiful colors of the trees. So I do miss that. But over here in my Hawaii, so I'm enjoying my beautiful tropical day. So I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate you coming back. We had a great time, and thanks for meeting Barbara. And love and blessings to you and your family.
Love and
have
blessings.
A nice holiday season.
Now, how do I end this? It's not aloha again, is it?
I like to play some exit music. Let me do this. Hold on.
I'm just curious. I wasn't sure how you say goodbye. Yeah, how do you say goodbye?
Oh, you say aloha. Aloha means hello, and it means goodbye, and it means I love you. It's kind of based on the context, So now at the end of this party, it's ready to say aloha.
In that case, I will say aloha and wish everyone a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much. Love and blessings to you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
We all share this planet Earth. We have shared the air since the dawn of time. No one takes a breath saying this one's mine. We share the sun, we share the sea. It's time to learn to share the land in peace. You who govern choose to spend more on war than we can comprehend. We insist to share our wealth, food and water, homes and health, teachers, trees and medicine. Then the time of true peace can begin. We are all one human family, sharing one home. Our home is a planet of peace, planet of peace, planet of peace. You of every nation are family to me. I feel such consternation that you suffer while I walk free. I will do all that I can to help unite this family of woman, child, and man. The leaders of our nation, are they wise as well as strong, or boys in imitation, pointing that he's God, threatening the future, endangering us all? The people of all nations are united